welcome back. Combat Chat podcast. A lot has happened since we last spoke. The last time we got in the studio to record an episode, we were looking forward to Siam to Sydney. It was coming up the next weekend. We talked to Diandra, chatted to her before her big fight on that show. We now know that show did not happen. Sydney is back in lockdown, and so I will invite the listeners back to my bedroom, where you have seen me record some episodes before. This actually isn't even just my bedroom. This is now my place of work. I eat in here a lot of the time too. This is a multi-purpose room in my house. But Shane also not here. We're locked down. We're in different houses, so I don't have my studio equipment either. But at the Combat Chat podcast, the show must go on. And I with some help, put together an absolutely massive lineup today. So we couldn't let it go astray. I have a whole team with me here through the magic of the internet. So let's go around the table with our guests. Let's kick off with you. We have got Sandy Heilig, excuse me if I said that last name incorrectly, we just established that, of the Quandamooka Cup and Supajai Gym on North Stradbroke Island. Sandy, how are you?
Hey, good, thanks. You? How you going, mate?
I am doing very well. You've been kind of off to the mainland for some sparring this morning?
I have. We've literally just got back like a minute ago.
Still in the car?
I sat and had coffee. My boys sparred. I didn't have to do much at all. So I was just the Uber driver.
Thanks very much for setting this episode up. We're going to get into a lot more detail about the things you've been doing with the gym recently and the Quandamooka Cup in general. I'm really excited because you have brought two of your fantastic, handsome ambassadors to the episode. Let's start with the other new guests first. Former Thai boxing sensation turned boxing up-and-comer, Benny Mahoney. How are you, mate?
I'm really, really good, man. How you doing? Thank you for getting me on today.
No, really appreciate it. Fresh out of a snap 3-day lockdown up there in Sunshine State.
Yeah, look, it's not too bad. Having 3 days is literally good for me. It's nice to hide away for a couple of days and then get back out. I use it as rest days, I guess. But no, we're got it pretty under control here, so it's in and out.
Beauty. Good to hear a bit of a positive outlook because no shortage of negativity here in Sydney in line with our lockdown. But let's complete the round the table. Repeat guest. One of Australian Muay Thai's favourites, fresh off a world title challenge over in Perth, coming to us from Orange, Mr. Charlie Bubb. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Thanks for having me on again.
Anytime. We always love to hear from Charlie. Things are a little bit cold over your way.
Yeah, I reckon we're in one of the coldest parts of Australia. We've been snowing, sleeting, minus degrees, so not exactly fun here, but it's what we put up with in Orange.
Yeah, no lockdown in Orange, but covered in snow, so where are you going to go anyway?
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting fat at the moment anyway. I'm in hibernation mode, so I'm happy.
What's winter for, mate? If not to hibernate.
Exactly. My summer body gets made in summer.
The best way. Right, so really keen to get stuck into a chat with all of you here. So I'll throw it back to you, Sandy, if you wouldn't mind, because you're kind of, I guess, the thread that ties all of you together, I suppose, the reason we've kind of got all of you. So explain to us and the listeners, if you will, I guess, your background, because you, to explain a little bit to the unfamiliar, the Quandamooka Cup is a suicide prevention initiative that has a strong foothold in the Australian Thai boxing community. So explain, if you would, kind of your background, how you got started in the sport and how Quandamooka came to be. Would love to hear a little bit of the backstory there.
Yeah, that's actually, I was having a joke with you off air before. Yeah, my story's not that interesting. That's why I invited Charlie and Benny on to really make it an interesting podcast. But I got started when I was 15. I was a school kid. I started out in Zendo Kai training, and then I was really into the karate. I loved the Zendo Kai. I went through to my probationary first degree under Malcolm Anderson, and I got into the Muay Thai to really keep fit for the karate, and I accidentally got thrown on a show at no notice. I was at a show and got chucked on because the other girl didn't turn up for one of the fighters. So I never actually dreamt of becoming a fighter. I was right into my karate, and I jumped in to fill a spot on a show and fell in love with it. It was full Thai rules. I think it was the year 2000 that fight happened. I fought a girl from some other gym at no notice. Jumped in, had a fight. It was full Thai rules, no padding, no nothing. And I borrowed a mouth guard. I borrowed a pair of shorts. It was pretty.
Sure.
I just got chucked in, and it was full Thai rules. I copped a couple of elbows, split my head open, and thought, this is great. Why didn't I do this sooner? So I was doing a bit of both. I wanted to, at that point, I was just going for my black belt in karate. So I wanted to get through my black. And once I'd done my black, I thought, nah, I'd had a couple more fights after that. And I thought, nah, I really want to focus on this. I ended up at Boonshu Gym. This was way back when Shannon Forrester and Agro and Clayton Collier and all those boys were down there. Richard Walsh was holding pads for us, all of us. Wayne was just before Wayne went to America before he met Angie. And those were the good old days of Boonshu, man. That's when I believe it was at its strongest. I went down there because I actually fought a girl and got bashed. And I thought, well, we became really good mates. I ended up training down at Boonshu. I stayed there for a little while and formed a really good friendship with Shannon Forrester. He became everything, man. My brother, my flatmate, my training partner, my workmate. I just got really close with Shannon. And then when that split happened with Boonshu in 2003, I followed Shannon and Nathan Corbett, also very close to Nathan. And yeah, followed them to 5 Rings with Ray Matsumura. We went and started 5 Rings. Myself, I was the first female to fight out of 5 Rings. I don't even know if they exist anymore, 5 Rings. Yeah, and then I come back up to Brisbane. I was working security at the Stradbroke Island Hotel, and I ended up taking over a karate class for my old karate instructor. He had a karate class in the old local hall here. And he said, look, my trainer's busy. He can't do it anymore. You're over there working. Can you run it on a Saturday morning? And I did. I came over and I did it for, I think, about a month. And it wasn't doing so well. There weren't many people involved. There were, but there weren't. And I thought, well, I've got a better idea. Let's just do some Muay Thai. And as soon as I started doing Muay Thai down there, the whole island jumped in on it. This was back in 2004. And yeah, we just started training and all the kids started turning up, all the local kids, man, everyone turned up, and it just got really big. And a little fella walked into my gym his name was Jai Burns, a little fella who was only about 9 years old when he walked in. And he had a couple of fights for me out of that little stable that we had on the island. And I nicknamed him Supajai because I was a massive fan of Super Chai back then when he was big and famous back in that era. And I nicknamed Jai after Supajai. And to fast forward 10 years later, Jai took his life. He committed suicide in 2015. And I mean, I'd been working in the mines and I came back to pay my respects to the family. And Jai's uncle actually had a little exercise thing going in the community. And he come and said to me, look, I really want to build a gym in honour of my nephew. You know, I don't really know the contacts or what to do. Will you help me? So him and I come together and we built the gym and we named it Supajai Gym. He actually asked for my permission to use the name. And I said, of course you can use it. You know, this was back in 2015. So we started the Supajai Gym. We created, you know, a community gym, and my nephew Mitchell was training with us. And yeah, I formed the Quandamooka Cup. I actually birthed the Quandamooka Cup in the original Supajai Gym that we'd started in 2015 after Jai died. And my nephew Mitchell, he was training with me, and he had a fight, and then he took his life after the Quandamooka Cup. So the Quandamooka Cup was only ever going to be one show. It was only supposed to be a one-off charity event, and we were going to throw all the money at a charity, which we did. We ended up we held that show on when was it? I think it was March 2016. It was the 26th of March 2016 we held that show. And we raised $21,500, gave all the money to Beyond Blue. And at that point, I was going to get back in the gym and get on with just the gym and not run any more shows. That was, you know, we were sort of just getting on with the gym, and that was it. And Sadly, 5 days after the first Quandamooka Cup show, the one that was only ever going to be one, my nephew Mitchell took his life, also one of my fighters. So that crushed me. I actually left the island. I couldn't be around the gym or the island because that was, we'd lost Jai. Now we were facing the same thing a year later with Mitchell because it was literally a year apart those two did that. And I just couldn't handle it. The grief, I ended up going back to WA, back to the mines. I focused on building the brand of Quandamooka Cup. I didn't want to put on any more shows, especially being away in the mines. I was up in the desert. So I thought, well, I need to build the message, I can't run shows out here in the middle of nowhere, so I need to build the message. So I came up with the You Are Worth Fighting For. It was just a one-liner that I used to tag on the Facebook post, You Are Worth Fighting For. And I ended up working with a graphic designer, and we designed what everyone knows now as I'm sure you've seen it. It's like a block, You Are Worth Fighting For.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, we designed that. I had it in my head. I could see what I wanted in my head. And my poor graphic designer, for all of our designs, because I create them in here, my poor graphic designer has the arduous task of pulling what's inside my brain out and trying to make it come to life. So I feel for him because I'm very picky, and I won't let it go until it's 100% right. So we worked on that for probably a good month before we got that. And it's now, I see it everywhere. I see it on total strangers walking down the street. It's kind of a blowout. You see people training on videos in Mexico, in Japan, Canada, and they've got my shirt on, and it's kind of like, wow, look at that, It's good to see that message getting out there. I did end up running another show. I ran another show in 2018. We raised just under $10,000 for the Alive Foundation. And I then, after that show, put the team together. So I was approaching fighters all around Australia to help me get this message out, because I thought, look, this message it's just too important not to share. And I thought being on my own, it's not, I couldn't do it on my own because as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't a big name, and I wasn't that interesting enough for people to really want to look at. So I thought I would be smart and get big name fighters as well as no name fighters that had been through that struggle. I had a real good mix of people. And I chose carefully. I approached Charlie and approached Benny and, guys like Toby Smith and George Mann, he's also one. And, I had, other people from all over the country, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger as these guys were coming on board, and they're wearing the shirt out, they're starting to speak like Charlie speaks after his fights. Benny does a little spiel, it just skyrocketed from there. And I couldn't have done that on my own. I'm really glad that I put the team together, because without the team I couldn't have got the message out as far as I could have, because I wasn't a big enough name to do it. So sometimes you just have to let ego go and say, you know what, you've got to be smart and give it to the big names, let them get it out there. And it worked for us. And it really, I get a lot of messages, at least once or twice a week. I'll get a message from someone anywhere in the world to the page saying how much that they're inspired and how the message we put out has, helped them in some way. And so, it feels good. And, I can't take all the credit for that. I really credit my team, all of the members of my team, because, as I said, I couldn't have got this out as far as I could have without them. So, we'll get into the new gym. That was the cup. That was the cup side of it. That was the Quandamooka Cup. So our plan is to run another show this year. So we're going to do our third show this year. We're going to actually have it here home on Stradbroke Island. First time we'd ever run one on Straddy. So that's planned for November 13th. We had booked a date.
Is that the day you're doing it on?
Yeah, well, I haven't actually revealed that to anyone. We only just decided on that the other day. I had booked
Special
it.
announcement.
Surprise.
Yeah. Surprise.
That's my birthday.
Is it?
Oh, stop it.
November 13th.
Well, I hope you win for your birthday. Charlie is scheduled to be the main event. We had locked in a date for October 16th, but because everyone's just they're just changing their dates, and the shows are just everyone's jumping in and throwing on shows up here in Queensland just ridiculously. So I spoke to my co-promoter. I won't say co-promoter because I'm his apprentice, Paul Demicoli. I'm working with Paul
Holy day.
Demicoli on this show.
Man.
So I'm pretty much going to shut my mouth and observe and really take this opportunity to learn from him. He's one of the biggest promoters in the country. So I really want to take this opportunity to really observe and listen and learn a lot from him about putting this show on and what to do. This is a good opportunity for me. So to work with Paul on this show is a real huge honour. Anyway, he said to me, look, I think we need to move the date. There's too many shows around that original date that we'd had in October. So we pushed it out. We spoke with the lady that does the fight calendar, Nakia, and we managed to come up with a new date just the other day. We've had to move the show, and I'm not moving it again. So it's November 13th here on Straddy. I hope you can still join us, Charlie. Will you be?
Yeah, I should be able to. Should be there. I'll bring up all the boys for a party weekend for my birthday.
Celebration. Will be real.
It's on us. It's on us, yeah. So that's what's happening on the cup side of things. I have reopened the Supajai Gym. I don't know if you wanted to chat about that.
Yeah, please. We'd love to hear kind of what it looks like. A really cool setup. Kind of what you've got going on there. We'd love to hear sort of what's new with Supajai Gym and what kind of I guess prompted you to reopen and kind of what's the plan.
Well, as I said, I walked away in 2016 after Mitchell died. I couldn't be in the old gym. It was too hard. A little bit too hard to be in the gym at that time. So I walked away. The Supajai Gym continued on in the community for a little while, but it was being run by other people that weren't part of the boys' lives, really. So I kind of came back, and it had closed down when I got back. So I thought, I'm going to reopen this again, and I'm going to have another crack at this. So I rebuilt it it's been I've only, the last 12 months I've worked on this. I've had it open since January. But I'd been looking since June last year to get a venue, and I couldn't get a venue anywhere. It was really difficult. I went and approached everywhere. I asked the sporting clubs, the community clubs, if they would let us use empty rooms that they don't use downstairs in their buildings, and we were getting turned down. And I believe that it was purely for the fact that I don't charge anyone. Like, it's a free gym. It's a free gym for people to come and have a smash when they're not feeling good about themselves. So because of that, a lot of people weren't really interested in taking us on because they're not going to make any money out of us, which is sad, because it's a great initiative for the community. However, I even tried to lease places, but we don't have a big industrial area on the island. I think there's one street. All of those places were full. There was just nowhere to go. So I just built it in my backyard. I just literally, coming off a mine site, I got the concept to do the shipping containers, because we pretty much build everything out of shipping containers on mine sites. So I had that concept to put up the shipping containers and throw the ring up and just put some matting out. I had planned to put a roof up and do it really Thai style, but the council, we had a complaint go in from a holiday homeowner next door, and unfortunately that stopped us halfway through the build. The gym is supposed to be a lot bigger than it is, but we got stopped because of a complaint, and the council pretty much told us, look, we love what you're doing, but unfortunately we can't let you continue to build this any bigger because of the nature of the complaint. So we sort of had to make do with what we had halfway through the build. So it's supposed to have a roof on it. We don't have a roof. So when it rains, it affects us. And look, we rely on donations. Like I said, I've just done a big run of hoodies because we don't get any income. We don't have any. We rely 100% on donations, and it costs me about $400 a week to run this gym. Because I feed all of the boys as well. And like everyone that comes, I usually put a feed on. You know, I love my gym. I love it in the backyard. I can light the fire, especially in winter. I don't know if you've seen it or not. We
Yeah,
get
I've
the
seen
fire
it.
going.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful scene with the fire lit and the guys doing
Oh,
some training, and then just it's nice to see.
it is. It's very Thailand, I think. Well, it reminds me a lot of Thailand because we always ate together after training. You know, well, that was your family. You ate together, you trained
Yeah,
together, you slept together. Everyone was always together. And you know, these guys go home to their houses, but I mean, they come in and train and they eat together. We all sit around the fire and we have a feed, and then everyone goes home, and then I clean the mess and go. But I mean, the food, I get the boys to once a week bring in a plate, but you know, some of them can't afford to bring some every night, so I have to foot the bill for that. You know, I take the boys over town, just the ones that want to fight. Particularly, I've got a young boy. He's 12 years old, and this is the nature of the gym. I'm trying to encourage people to come in and change their lives. Being on Stradbroke Island, you probably noticed it's a beautiful place. Like, it is really a beautiful place to look at.
yeah,
It's like paradise. It's a big holiday place. But there's an underlying mental health issue, and a lot of it stems around drug and alcohol abuse. You know, a lot of there's not a lot of employment here, so a lot of people tend to drink piss and you know and do not much else if they're not working. And then you've got the holiday makers that come here, and it's just a culture here to drink piss and you know be rowdy, and there's no rules here because we're on an island. We get holiday makers come over here, they get pissed, and that's what they do because they're on holidays. We have locals that are struggling with alcohol addiction, you know, drug addictions. It's rife here. It's not spoken about, but it is a problem here. And unfortunately, these guys end up with, you know, battling depression. And this is why we have suicides on the island. My boys, two of them, Mitchell and Jai, you know. So I thought we really need to push the mental health aspect. And I think having the dinners and doing it the way we used to do it in Thailand to eat together. I don't want to just have a gym where you come in, pay your fees, get spoken to for an hour and go home. You know, I want it to be a second home because for some of these kids, it is a second home. Some of these kids, it's not, you know, they don't have a good life at home, some of them. So
mhm,
their escape is the gym. You know, some of them don't get fed properly. So this is the feed they get for the day, you know. But, you know, on the other hand, there's some really spoilt ones that have got the world at their feet, you know, and they're usually the ones that come in and take. I get that too. You know, they come in, get everything for free, and then they piss off after a couple of months once they've got everything they feel they want out of it. So,
yeah,
but, you know, we do. We need a lot of help. We do. That's why I've done the hoodie run to try and make a little bit of money so we can keep taking them over town. And, you know, I spoke to some people in the community. They say, do you need to take them to the mainland? And well, I don't need to take all of them, but I think I want to give these guys the best opportunities in this sport, and I'm very lucky to be able to deliver that because I do work very closely, especially with NTG. I
yeah,
work very closely with my friend Nugget and Paul Demacoli. You know, these guys welcome us in their gym week in, week out. You know, my little guy gets to train with Rocky. You know, we get to train with people on that level. You know, we're allowed to go in there and spar and work with their guys to give these kids the best chance to see this sport at its best. You know, Paul Demacoli always, you know, looks after us and, you know, makes sure that we're comfortable at shows. You know, we go to Eruption. I take these guys over to Eruption. They get to watch first class fights at Eruption, you
yeah,
know, and actually really see what this sport is about, you know. And I'm trying to educate them on good shows like it's Nick Atkins from also one of my ambassadors. He runs the Infliction series. You know, he always looks after us, and you know, he invites us down, me and the kids, to go down and watch his shows. And it's really about them trying to give these kids a chance to see fights and see what it's about. You know, here you can have this life, or you can sit on the island and drink piss and take drugs and do nothing. So I try and give them the best opportunities. You know, I mean, to these kids going to a gym like Strikeforce. Mark Pease, a great friend of mine, Mark Pease. He's a wonderful friend of mine, and he also invites us down there. We don't go down there as often because it's so far away. You know, by the time we get on the barge and down to Peasy's, they're almost finished. So, you know, we have a lot of support around the Muay Thai community from everywhere. We've got people that, you know, they want to come to the island and be with us. We just had Steve Baldacchino fly up from Melbourne, and he did a night with us in the gym and worked with the guys. You know, but I mean, like I said, our relationship with Nugget and NTG is amazing because, you know, Nugget's very old school and he doesn't throw his heart open like that. And I know that, you know, he's a good-hearted man. He really is. But I know that we're very lucky because I know that, you know, he doesn't throw that offer open to a lot of people. So I do feel very honoured, and I feel we shouldn't take that for granted. That's why we do turn up and we make sure I make sure the kids greet him and his, you know, his staff and his people. You know, I'm not just teaching these kids how to punch people in the face. I'm trying to teach them to be good men, young men as well. I have mostly boys in the gym, especially around the teenagers. I'm trying to teach them when you walk into a room, you greet the man of the house. You go and shake his hand like a man. You know, if they turn up to my gym late, I'm strict in the gym. I'm actually a bit of a bitch in the gym, and I'll say that. I am very strict because I'm trying to teach these boys that you have to be accountable in life.
Yeah.
You know, and man, I've been congratulated for it, but I've also been abused for it too. I've had people in the community, you know, come and have a go at me because I've yelled at their little darling or something like that. And it's like, well, I'm not apologizing for that because at the end of the day, we live in a community full of victims. And getting back to the mental health side of it, I'm probably I'm the founder of the Quandamooka Cup, but I may in some ways be the wrong person to be at the head of that organisation because as much as I love to spread this message and raise awareness, I also don't pander to people's bullshit, and I don't suffer fools. You know,
that's
and in
important,
some
though.
what's that?
I think that's an important part, though. You know what I mean? There's a fine line where you draw between, you know, getting walked on, and you know you're the top of the chain, and you got to lead by example. I think it's a massive thing that you're stern and you have your boundaries. I think that's super important.
100%. Oh look, and you know what? And I do, man. I growl these boys. My boy Harley. You've probably seen Harley working with me the most because that kid's in the gym every day. He's 12 years old. He wants to be a professional fighter. He loves this. Now, when that kid walked into my gym 5 months ago, he was a little bastard. He really was. He was a naughty kid, you know, and he was, you know, I didn't know what to do with him when he first come into the gym. I nearly told him to pack his bags and walk away, but I thought there's something in this kid. I actually like this kid. As cheeky and as naughty as he is, there was something in him that I could see that was good. And it's not just Harley. We have a lot of kids in the gym like that, you know. But this kid, man, I growl that kid every day. Every single day I'm up him. You're late. You've done this wrong. You've forgotten this. And he gets punished for it, you know. And I do. I get up them if they get cheeky or if they swear at me or they get the shits, man. Don't fucking talk to me like that. I'll slap you, boy. You know, I have to be mum. I have to wear many hats in this job. You know, I have to be a trainer. I have to be a stand-in mother. I have to be a cook. I have to be the Uber driver. I have to be the accountant that pays the other gyms to go to the gyms. And I mean, I throw my doors open for free, but the other gyms, you know, they don't, you know, some of them go, no, it's okay. You can bring the boys for free, but, you know, we don't get Rocky for free, you know.
Yeah.
Those people need to be paid. And you know what? That's fair enough, you know, but these kids don't have jobs. That's on me. You know, I pay that out of the money that I make at my job working with old people through the week, you know. So this is why we need to get more support behind us because, as I said, it costs about close to $400 a week to run this gym, you know. I'm just lucky that NTG let us come in. I mean, we usually bring over fish. Being on an island, we get regular chops at fresh fish, so they won't take our money. So we just bring them fish or sausages. This morning we took over sausages to contribute to the barbecue. I always make sure that the boys know to bring something. You know, I mean, you guys get it good in my gym. you get to come in here and throw a gold coin if you remember. Some of them don't remember to bring their gold coin. But, at other gyms, you got to pay your way. So when we go, if they don't want our money, then you bring some food. You bring something. You pay your way in life. That's just life. And a lot of people applaud that, but some people don't like it. And I don't hide my methods. I'm very old school. I'm a disciplinarian. I have to discipline these kids, because if I don't, they're going to make an asshole out of me and probably walk all over me in the end. And I have to be the person that shows them, hey, you can't fuck up here, because you're going to, if you want to be in this industry, in the fight community, it's not an easy sport to be in. So you need to be shown the right way, the old school way, I believe the hard way, or the highway. But in saying that, I give these boys just as much love as they get discipline, I'll kick them up the arse if they fuck up, but I'll also give them a hug and tell them how proud I am of them at the same time. You know what I mean? It's it's tough love.
Absolutely, and it's, I think, as you kind of tell that story, it is a beautiful thing, kind of course born out of tragedy, but it is a beautiful initiative now, the Quandamooka Cup and Supajai Gym in general. And I think when you describe wanting to teach those lessons to the boys, that I think is indicative of a real love and support, because it's easy to, I think, be kind of a soft touch and kind of just try to be quote unquote nice, but that's not really going to be the support that kind of young men need. You've got to be the person that can kind of crack that whip and say, because that's preparing them for life.
Yes.
Like sometimes I think if, like you say, you come from kind of a community that there is hardship, that people do fall into bad habits. If you're just going to be a soft touch and say everything's okay, then they slide into those patterns. But if you're willing to kind of, I think if you want to invest in someone's growth, you have to be willing to give them a push. I think like it's like when you're training someone and they show some potential. If you're always nice to them, like Benny, you train people, Charlie, I'm sure, you've chucked the pads on, helpful people sometimes. If you want someone to get better, you can't just tell them everything's great.
Yes.
You can't just say, yeah, you're doing well, you're doing really good, that's awesome, that's perfect, right? You have to be able to, and you have to push them. You have to we've all worked with great coaches too. They're not nice to you all the time. I think that's
I could show you highlights. I could show you highlights of my hand in slow motion hitting every single client I have.
And I think that's what real support is. And there's a good, of course, for all of us, it'll kind of draw back to fighting, but it's life at the same time. It's like, if you want to help someone kind of really grow and develop, it's not about just being nice to them all the time. And I particularly do think, Benny, Charlie, we're all sort of similar ages and kind of all got into this sport when we were kids. I think as young men, fighting and Muay Thai or boxing or whatever, and it's the same, it can be your footy team or something like that. It needs to be a network of accountability. I think that's how we raise better men through these things, and that's maybe an overlooked element of these mental health initiatives, is in the same way that we have to be caring and we have to take care of each other, we also have to be able to look at other blokes and say, man, that's not on, because that's how we're going to break patterns, and that's how we're going to kind of drive the right kind of change. Would love to see, like, you've got, like you mentioned, Sandy, a big kind of network of support, and that's kind of how this all came together. I'd like to kind of hear it through the guys' lens. So maybe I'll start with Charlie. You've told us a little bit about it before, but we'd love to hear kind of what the initiative, the Quandamooka Cup initiative, means to you, how you got involved. Tell us a little bit of the story there.
So yeah, obviously Sandy was sending a message to a bunch of New South Wales fighters one day, asking if they want to be ambassadors, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a good cause, 100%, we'll jump on. And I met Sandy for the first time in Perth and came over, got all our merch and that, and it hadn't really affected not so much. I haven't been affected personally by suicide, like a close friend, but I've seen a lot of people in the community, and especially it wasn't until after I joined Quandamooka Cup and got all that we had young people like around our age take their own life, and that's when you kind of sit back and have a look, and you're like, oh, it's not. You see the effects. You see the effects from everyone else. Like you see the like they're gone, and then you see the effects from their family, and that's where the real hurt, that's where the real pain comes from. So that's my biggest inspiration, because like I said, I haven't been affected personally, but like it's a community. It's everyone just puts their hands up in the air and says, "What the fuck just happened?" Like how we didn't like, we had a young boy this year. He's my girlfriend's age, so he's 19, and like they kind of grew up together. And then he was playing footy, like was always around, and then like one day just went up the mountain, and like that was it. So, and then you see the shock in the community. So when I talk about it after fights, I kind of see that it's not. We can put all we want on social media and that, but we don't have our spotlight on it. The biggest time we're going to have our spotlight on ourselves is right after a fight, right after why everyone watches us. So right after, that's where I say it's my moment to talk. It's my moment to do everything. So that's how I like to do it.
Yeah, and you do a really good job. Kind of, I think you're probably one of the most vocal kind of advocates of the initiative. You're always wearing the "you are worth fighting for" to the ring, and always kind of take that time to say your piece. And I think that is, as we've spoken about before, it's important that people such as yourself that get that kind of spotlight position start to encourage and foster that community of people speaking up and making people a little bit more aware of, kind of ending that I guess stigma around not raising these issues.
Yeah, 100%. Because like you don't see the hurt in people because like they don't talk, and then that's what I keep coming back to. It's everyone else where you see the hurt. So if we can just point out to that one person that like you're not, you do this to yourself, it's not going to affect you. It's affecting everyone else. Like you do it to you, you're done. Like you got nothing affects you anymore. You're not there to feel the effects. So to get that stigma, it not just helps that one person keep living a life, and who knows what they might do. It helps the 100 people around them that that's going to feel the effects. So if we help just one person, we're helping 100 people in hindsight.
Bigger picture.
Yeah, and it comes back to sort of, I guess, Sandy's story to kick off was like these things rip through communities. Someone who's doing it tough, a lot of the time, kind of you have no idea on the surface what's happening, and then it comes through a shock, and then you will see it, friends, family members. It seems to almost be, something that grief that comes from someone taking their own life really just set someone down that same path. So much of the time we see it, friends, family members kind of start to go the same way, and it becomes this vicious cycle. And that's why, someone such as yourself, Charlie, taking that time is so important, and that's why the initiative is such a great thing.
It's important for like myself and Benny being athletes. You see a lot with former athletes, like they're on top of the world, and then they might not turn to suicide, but their mental health goes down as soon as you retire. Like especially in boxing, in combat sports, as soon as you retire, they're looking for the next big thing. So like it's a big thing in mental health. Like I was just reading Mike Tyson's book, and I didn't realize how far he fell from fame after he retired. Like
it's an amazing
like you see how strong he was in the mind when he was a fighter, but then as soon as his career was done and he retired, he went into drugs. Like didn't know how to control himself. It's like you see it a lot in former athletes. That's why I think it's important for myself and Benny and athletes too to raise that awareness, because once we're done, like we need something else. Like I don't know if Benny's the same, but if I'm sitting on my ass for a day, I'll go crazy because you feel like you're not pushed. You're not going anywhere. You're not pushing your life forward that day. And then once you retire, like Benny knows exactly what I'm talking about.
100%, man. When you start to look for whether it's the adrenaline or the attention, or you have a big following and you get a lot of messages and a lot of, I suppose, that kind of thing. When you're not fighting, when you lose a fight, when you're inactive, when you retire or an injury, there's a lot of white noise, and it gets quite daunting. And that attention starts to deteriorate. You're looking for the next rush. You get a bit confused when this is all you do, kind of thing. You see, like Charlie said, there's a lot of older athletes that retire, and you see without the years, you know, they start to, like Charlie said, get on the drugs, the alcohol, get into troubles and bars or fights or whatever it may be, relationship things. Yeah, and it's a slippery slope that a lot of people go down. So it's a massive part for us to understand this early and spread as much as we can so we can help ourselves, our families, our friends, and the whole network.
And staying on that with you, Benny, I guess just similar question that I asked Charlie, kind of how did you initially kind of get involved with Quandamooka and how did that come together?
So me and Sandy have had a relationship for a long time. We've known each other from way back in the Boon Chew days, years and years and years. We were originally just friends before this kind of all started. And, you know, God, what year was that, Sandy? What year do you reckon?
2011 or 12? I can't remember, Ben.
Yeah, it's back when I was fighting at 51. Yeah. Oh my God, I weighed about as much as Charlie's left leg back then. But yeah, I went through some hard times when I was younger and had my trials and tribulations, as Sandy knows all about. And then when I was, you know, just moving out of home, I was quite young. I was in and out of home from about 15. And then when I went through a hard time I think I was about 18 years old, and I was terrible money. My car was shitting itself. I was just always borrowing and lending money. And I was just an absolute mess, working 3 jobs, trying to train. It was just scattered. And then Sandy, actually, a lot of people, I don't know how many people know, but Sandy really helped me out. She was in the mines. She wasn't even living with me at the time. But she actually put me up in a place in Surface so I could actually get on my feet and kind of get above the money and get above this all the drama. She actually paid a full 6 months for a second room just so I could be in an apartment because there was nothing going at that time, which actually kind of transcended me at that time to get my shit together, put some money aside, get my life together and get my mental state good. So she helped me more than most people know. So for me, giving back is a must. You know, when I was in a really hard state and a really terrible state when I was younger, and to be able to be in a position to give back and to give the same kind of hope or the same help that, you know, Sandy and a lot of people once have given me, it's an honor for me, and I feel like it's my job and that's something that I need to be doing. And obviously, like I haven't had any close personal contact with suicide. I've had friends, plenty of friends from school and back in the day, and my partner's been through some really personal stuff. So what goes through her goes straight back to me. And you know, I've had some really close people of mine go through it, and it's traumatic, mate. It's really it's a horrible thing. And you know, for me to give back to Sandy, you know, to be the bigger picture. Obviously, this is more than just that, but it's all that chain. It's all a ripple effect, and I think that. You know, the fact that people are there for you, you need to be there for them.
And that's a powerful thing, right, Sandy? That's an incredible thing that you've that you did for a young Benny Mahoney. Obviously, you know, really have a big heart and want to help. I think that's absolutely awesome. And Benny, you mentioned something important there in that, you know, we talked about how kind of the grief of things such as suicide and depression can kind of travel between people. You know, like some people can kind of, you know, having someone close to you take their life and the grief that comes off of that can kind of send you a same path. I guess what you mentioned is that it can work the other way as well. Like if you can inspire someone, like you mentioned it very well there, you're big on your social media around inspiring people. You have a big following who are into kind of, you've got a big message of positivity that people really kind of resonate with. And I guess you could say that it came from Sandy kind of leaving that mark on you and inspiring you, and now you've got a big following and are inspiring a lot of people. Do you think that, what do you think the importance is, like, I guess describe the importance for an athlete of sending that positive message and kind of you know, helping other people do the same thing and carry that message along?
Mate, energy creates energy. I think, you know, if you hang around with a bunch of miserable people on a site for long enough, you could be the most positive person in the world and you'll turn to a nervous wreck within 6 months. It's just the way our bodies and our brains work. So I find from when I was younger, whether it be Josh, Sandy, whoever, there's a lot of people that have really, really helped me out more so than more than I can explain at the time, you know. That resonated with me to then pass that on in the last, you know, God, 2 years. I can't tell you how many times I've forwarded whether it be money, and this isn't like bragging rights, but this is whether it's money or advice or time or whatever I can do to people on the weekly. That all stems from the good that's been done to me, because the second that I have that opportunity, that is what people took time aside to do for me and to help me. Like, for me, it's a no-brainer. And like I said before, energy creates energy. And I think that, you know, a lot of people neg out on the social media and the big platforms and stuff. I think it's so bloody important because, you know, a lot of people can use it for the negative side and to get themselves deep pockets and all that. That's all great. But if you can use that for a more meaningful purpose and you can help people's lives, you can put money in other people's pockets and you can, you know, help yourself as other people to lift and to have a better life, give them a blueprint. And, you know, like if you have a big following and you, whether it's share hotlines, helplines, all that kind of stuff, that has such a powerful reach. You send that to one person, they send it to 10 people, those 10 people send it to 10 people. Before you know it, you have, you know, 1 million people looking at a mental health line to call. That could save so many lives, and I think that it's very powerful.
Actually, it's funny, if you don't mind if I can butt in, may I?
Of course. Of course.
Take the mic, girl.
Thank you.
All yours.
It's interesting when we talk about being able to help people out financially. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that, but it's also really it's not a very smart thing to do when you're doing it all the time. And this is where I think having Nugget particularly Nugget's a great friend of mine, and working and not working, but just him teaching me, because that was what I would do. I was in the mines, I had money, I would feel sorry for anyone and throw money at them. And that's not the reason why it was with Ben. It was I genuinely cared about Ben and I wanted to see him right. But I mean, I kind of had a pattern of throwing money at the wrong people. You know, people would come up, oh, I've busted my leg, I can't work for 5 weeks. You know, hey, I'll pay your bills, no problem. As soon as they get on their feet, they're gone. You know, and this is why I appreciate Benny so much, not in the fact that I expect him to give back, the fact that I see him paying it forward. But Nugget, since he's come home to Australia, has been so good for me, because he's been the one to teach me and mentor me to stop throwing money around as much as I had been in the past, because for me it was easy because I had it. You know, I was working in the mines earning $2,500 a week and paying everyone else's bills because I could, you know. And Nugget looked at me and said, Sandy, I love the fact that you want to help people, but for fuck's sake, you need to stop enabling certain people, because there are people who don't need your money, but they'll take it. And you need to learn how to spot these people. And this is where he's been so good to me in teaching me to help the right people, not just help everyone, because to me, I was enabling a lot of people and not realizing, thinking I was doing a good thing because I could, but I actually wasn't helping them at all. I was enabling them. So, and he still gets at me to this day, you know. The kids in my gym, I spoil them, man. I give them clothes, I take them to shows, I buy them lunch, I take them everywhere. And Nugget still looks at me and goes, Sandy, why do you stop spending your money on these little, I'm not going to say the word he uses, but I'm pretty sure everyone can work it out. You know, give them the time, give them everything as far as your time, your training, your gym. That's enough. Stop giving them too much, you know, and I'm learning. I'm still learning, and I'm so lucky to have him mentoring me through learning the right people to help financially, and the ones that I should just give them a, hey man, you need a chat, I can give you that, but no money, you know. So I do, because I can be a soft touch, you know. I'm too kind for my own good sometimes. And it's good. I've got Nugget there to, you know, I usually call him if I feel someone's coming at me for money, I'll usually call Nugget and go, Nugget, what do I do? And he tells me how to politely tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, and look,
and I think.
Sorry.
Go on, Benny. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, and for me, the whole what I mentioned before, nothing to do with the money. For me, it was obviously that was a massive factor, and Sandy knows that. But I never expected absolutely anything, and that was a time where she came out of whatever her comfort zone to help me out, and whether it was advice, whether it was time, whether it was, it's not so much about the financially, it was just the kind gesture that she took out of her life to help me when she didn't have to. It put me in a much better place. So I was just saying that I'm grateful for that. And 100%, you got to, and like Sandy's saying with the money, people they're gonna have to need to want to help themselves to get there. You know what I mean? If they're just going to take and take and take and not actually want to progress their life, they're going to be in the same position the second that money runs out. You need to capitalize and really try and build up on that and try and use that momentum to get your life into a better spot. But I couldn't agree more with you, Sandy.
100%. And like I said, this gym, I'll be honest, man, this has cost me close to $100,000 up to today. Like the money that I've put in to this gym, it's a fucking hell of a lot of money. But I tell you what, if one of these guys can go on, I have over 100 people that have signed up to come down, to fill in their form and say there's nothing wrong with them, but they can come and smash the bags. If one of these kids goes on to be successful, then that's worth every bit, because that one person, you got to look at it, it's about paying it forward. That one person might go on to inspire 10 people, who then go on to inspire 10 people each. Think 100 people off something that you've started. You can't put a price on that. As difficult as it is to go, oh my God, it's cost money. I think we got to look at the big picture. And at the end of the day, fuck the money. As far as I'm concerned, I think for me personally, money matters to some people. It doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, I'm happy to have a shower and a feed every day and do what I love out in the backyard doing Thai boxing with the community. That's what I love. I'm in my happy place. I don't need much more than that. So I'm happy, even if I got $5 in my pocket. We've all eaten, we've all trained, we're all smiling, and we all got to go to a cool gym this week. I'm stoked with that. And if I see these kids pay it forward and help other people in the future by coming off this platform, then it's money well spent for me. I've done my job.
And it ties very well into a point about that accountability and about that kind of, I guess, tough love that we talked about before, is that I think people that have big hearts and want to help, sometimes the kind of quickest way to help someone can be to give them some money if they're in a stuck spot, to help them on their feet, to get them where they need to go. But it's like you say, money comes and money goes. And if someone kind of sometimes, unfortunately, when people are generous and they want to see people they want to help set people right, people just see that as opportunity a lot of the time. And it's all well and good, as I say, to give someone some money that they can just burn straight through and they're back where they were. But I think it does take a lot of energy and love to actually look at their situation and see how you can help them and talk them through and have some tough conversations with them. So I guess, do you think that's part of the learning, is that, yes, you want to help people, but I guess learning how to not just help people monetarily, and also, I suppose, siphon through the people who are just there because they want to take something, and see who's actually willing to stick it out and truly be helped beyond just some financial support.
Oh, tell me about it. I agree, Hugh. Like I said, I've had over 100 people show up and say they want to train. And, I've had 30 young men turn up and say they want to be fighters. I've really only got 2. I've got young Harley and young Isaac, they're really the only 2 that are putting it in. And you know what? My gym's there for mental health, and it was set up for people in the community to come and use for free to have a smash. And that's great, and it still serves that purpose. That's the main focus of that gym. But if you tell me you want to fight, I'm going to put you through your paces. And you know what? It's not going to be easy, because I need to prepare you for something. And a lot of them, and it's not just me, every gym has it. I want to be a fighter. How many gyms the guys walk in, I want to be a fighter. Then when you actually show them what needs to be done, a lot of them fade and they don't really want to put it in, and they go away. The good thing is I try and encourage the kids, this is what we went on a development day about 6 weeks ago, put a few of the kids on. And, it was a good thing to test them to see if they actually wanted to fight. One guy decided he didn't want to do it after that. The other 2 stayed on and they still want to do it. But, it's just getting them to understand, look, you have to work for this shit. Like, you can't just walk in and say, yeah, I want to be a fighter. And, I had one boy walk in my gym and he said to me, when do I get a fight? After 2 lessons, he'd done 2 training sessions and asked, when's he going to get a fight? And I actually couldn't help it. I giggled and said, look, mate, I said, just come and train and just enjoy it, you know, like just be here and train and, you know, have some fun with this. Don't even think about fighting, you know. Oh, but this is what I want to do. I said, well, okay, well, when you get to that stage, you've got to be invited to fighters class, and it's 5-6 days a week. And oh yeah, I'll do that when you get me a fight, he says. You know, and you know, I'm not the only person that puts up with that. You know, I mean, for me now with this gym, you know, in the past we wanted to get good fighters. Now I want to get good people. You know, I want to get people in this gym for mental health. I mean, if you want to fight, sure, that's fine. You're going to get your ass handed to you every week at NTG or Strikeforce, and you know, I'm going to put you in front of some hard boys so you get to know what it's all about before you get in that ring and get your ass handed to you. But you know, the main purpose for this is for the mental health, and I think it's more important to focus on that. You know, but yeah, you get the kids that turn up at the gym and they you know, they want to take, and you know, silly me, I've made the mistake giving them everything, and then they piss off after they get what they want. And you know, you can't be mad at anyone for that. You know, it's like, oh well, they're teenagers, that's what they're going to do, and you sort of allowed that, so you got to accept that and go, oh well, that's your fault, you gave it to them. Of course they're not going to say no. So it's about knowing when you're at fault as well. You know, I've made mistakes in this gym, given to the wrong people, but you know, people that didn't need any help, they just come in for a free ride. You know, and that happens. I'm sure I'm not the only gym in the world that happens to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think a lesson that comes through this, from what you said, and I think from kind of what, you know, we've all been involved in the sport, so we've all or in combat sports, we've all kind of felt that how that kind of gym community and the whole process of getting involved in fighting and becoming a part of a team, it is like really a powerful thing for mental health. A lot of people talk about how getting involved in combat sports kind of helps them get on the right path, gives them things to aspire to. I think for the kids in Straddy, that's a massive thing. Like when you've got a lot of negative patterns within a community, like you say, taking them to other gyms and showing them, you know, giving them something to aspire to and something to kind of dream for is such a massive thing to kind of get that positive energy and kind of, I think striving for something is like a really powerful energy to have in a young person, especially. I would love to go around the table here. Maybe I'll start with you, Charlie. I haven't heard from you in a minute. From your time getting involved with Quandamooka, from being involved in combat sports in general, and I guess cultivating a bit of a following, because all of you do have a following through the community. What, I suppose, do you think is one lesson or just one important thing that not just young people in general are not getting taught through school, taught through their communities, that you think people need to be taught, that you think will help people get on the right path, if that makes sense? I guess, what do you think is one thing that right now we're not trying to show people as part of life that's kind of leading to kind of poor mental health and stuff like that? What do you think is something that we need to talk to people about that's kind of still staying quiet?
I reckon timelines. So I see it a lot. Like everyone, I got mates that have bought houses at 22, mates that bought houses at 19. Then I also got mates that have bought houses at 30. People get married at 19. People get married at 30. People win a world title at 20. People win a world title at 30. And like young people, so much they see it on social media. They see everything. They think, he's only a year or two older than me. Like, why am I not there? Why am I not there? And it affects their mental health because they think, he's my age, I should be doing that. But you realise that everyone's life works in a different timeline. That's I've learned that over the last couple of weeks. I've seen a lot of stuff on it, and even looking at me just losing the world title fight against George, I'm looking at it as George he's younger than me, but what happens in 10 years, people don't realise that your life isn't right now. Your life is 10 years before, your life is 10 years after. So one of the biggest inspirations in relation to that I've got is it's a speech by Matthew McConaughey. And someone comes up to me and tells him, he goes, who's your hero? And he goes, oh, let me have a think about it. Comes back and asks him. He goes, oh, it's me in 10 years' time. So 10 years later, same guy comes up and asks him and goes, are you your hero yet? And he goes, no, not even close. My hero's me in another 10 years. So I think timeline is a big thing for people to realize that, yeah, like things may be shit now, but this person might be doing that, but you can be doing better than that in 10 years. You might, everything works in their own timeline. I think that's a important lesson that people need to look at.
Yeah, that's an awesome point. That's definitely something, and I think we're all probably guilty of it at times. I've stressed myself out on it because my friend who's my age has done this and this, but like it is so important to understand that we're all doing our own thing. I think that's the most important lesson. Everyone's doing their own thing at their own time.
Yeah,
like everything for you is going to happen at your time.
You look at the UFC. Like John Jones is the youngest champion ever, but now Izzy's doing the same things. But he was John Jones won at 21. But when Izzy was 21, he was one of the best kickboxers going around. But now he's where John Jones is, and he's older in life. But it's the same thing. It's just timelines don't matter. So that's a big thing I've been working on for my own mental health. That like timelines, I mightn't be doing it now, but in 10 years I'll be doing it better than people that are doing it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, yep.
Sorry, Hugh.
No, you go.
I think that you're dead right there, Charlie. Timelines and coming back to not comparing yourself to others. And you know what? We're all guilty of it. I do it. We all do it. We compare ourselves to others. And I think it's something that my dad taught me. Just be the best version of you. And it's so much better for your mental health to just be good enough within yourself. If you're happy, and don't compete with others. Don't worry about what's going on with other people. Just try and be the best version of you. And
yeah, because people see it as they judge their success of how people judge them. But success, if you're happy being a bricklayer, you got 2 kids, you own your house, and you're happy and you're content, that's successful. And you're happy and you think that's your version of success, then you're the most successful person that you can be. Like that's, as long as you're content with what you're doing, no one gives a shit. You shouldn't give a shit about what anyone else thinks. That's a big thing for people's mental health to think like that, I think.
I couldn't agree
more. And that's
more,
a beautiful point. Your version of success. That's, I think, that, and everyone's different. Like if it's going to be, if you're just going to, and it comes a lot to the social media kind of side of it, is that we're all looking at highlights of, you had kind of a point like this running on your Instagram, Benny, a bit of a Q&A on a similar topic. But it's like when we're always looking at, I think we develop this aesthetic of what success looks like, and everyone kind of wants to pursue this one picture of where it's just a self-defeating prophecy. It's not, someone else's life is not your life. If you're going to look at that and be like, this is where I have to go, like, piece by piece, it's not really pursuing anything that's even going to make you happy or make you content, because it's their version.
100%. I think Charlie's on the money there, because at the end of the day, like, I was going to say just comparison and understanding, which pretty much rolls off the same kind, same kind of topic. As Charlie said, especially with the changing of eras, 20 years ago or 25 years ago, you didn't have iPhones, you didn't have iPads, you didn't have such an accessible way to make money. There wasn't cryptocurrencies. There wasn't all this stuff that people are just killing it now. And you see people that are 22, 23 years old with mansion houses and stuff, and it's so easy to get caught up and get upset about yourself when you're not where they are, when you didn't even have the same opportunities back then, kind of thing. I think Charlie's just hit the nail on the head. Comparisons are going to be the killer of happiness, and I think if you're too caught up in someone else's world, you can't really progress in yours.
Just going off what Benny said, there's a difference between comparison and inspiration too. So if you compare yourself to someone, you've got a range of failure there, because you're never going to be the same as someone else. But if you use it as inspiration, then that's when you can leapfrog and go to your next level, because you're never going to, like Ben said, you're never going to compare the same as someone. So yeah, there's a big difference between comparing something and using something as inspiration.
100%.
Yeah, and it's like you go, Ben.
No, Charlie's on it. Like, no one's going to, if you get 10 people in a room, no one's going to look at you the same. You can look at yourself in the mirror and see one completely different thing, and then another 10 people are going to think different of you. So as long as you're kind of happy with your progression and with how you're going and you're focusing and doubling down on what you're doing, I think you can't really lose. That's all I was
And
going
it's
to say.
that same thing about learning to understand, like, it's how we engage with energy, how we engage with what we see, that it's like, you've got to look at, let's say my friend buys a house, and maybe I'm not in a position to buy a house. I can't be looking at that like he's beating. It's not a contest, right? When someone ticks their goals, you got to be able to be happy, be genuinely happy, and be able to go, man, you're killing it. Well done. And that should inspire you to not go and buy a house necessarily, to do what you need to do or what you want to do. Like, I think we all, like, I always, you got to take that frame of mind of, like, when it comes to your mates and the people around, we're all going to make it. We're all going to make it in our own way. Yeah, we're all going to win. Like, it's all going to look different, but we can all win. It's not like, I think people, they see other people and they feel like they're doing so much better, and it becomes like, I'm not going to do it. And they throw their hands up like, I can't do it. Or it's like he's crossed the finish line and now I lose. Nah, there's a million different ways to get to the same place, because we're all just going our own way. You know what I mean? Like, and it's, if you stop looking at what everyone's doing as a competition, if you're always competing with everyone around you, you're always losing.
Yeah.
I
can speak from an older person's perspective. I'm in my 40s. You gentlemen are much younger than I am, so I've got a little bit more life experience. And I'm in my 40s, and I had an opportunity. I had two choices. I could go and buy a house or build a gym in my backyard. Those were my choices. And I thought, well, yeah, sure, I'd love to buy a house. That'd be great. It's everyone's dream. I'm in my 40s. About time I went and got myself my dream house. And I thought, well, no, I ended up building the gym. And you know what? I don't have the house, but I have the gym, and I'm the happiest fucking person in the world. And I don't have the house. I don't have the debt. I don't have the drama. But I do what I love every day in my backyard, or someone else's house that I rent. Yeah, I rent that house, but who cares? I've got a roof on my head. I've got a kitchen to cook my food, and I've got my gym. I'm happy, and I don't have anything. People go, oh, how do you live like that? You drive around in a $40,000 vehicle. Man, I'm paying that thing off. The bank owns that. I'm still paying for it, But hey, I'm paying it off. That was a treat for myself at 40, because I've never had anything flash. And I decided at 40 I was going to go and get something nice on a loan, and I did that. But as coming back to the looking at other people and saying, oh well, they've got a house, I should have, especially at my age, I should have owned my home and be here and be there. I love Muay Thai, and I don't own a home, and I get to do Muay Thai every day, and I'm happy as a pig in shit. I love it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'm stoked with it. And I live on a beautiful island. It's great.
Yeah, well, people kind of have to understand too. Everyone's dealt different cards. Some people don't have the luxury of having, I suppose, a template or a blueprint. Some of us go through harder things than others, and we just have to understand that. Somebody could kick their toe on a corner table, and then someone could lose someone. And in their worlds, it's the same, I suppose, big of a problem, because that's all that they know and that all that they've been through. No, I reckon it's 100%, like you said, Sandy. But everyone's got their different cards. You just got to work with what you've got, and you've just got to focus and stay in your own lane, and not focus on so much else's life. And as Charlie said before, find inspiration rather than finding the negatives. Find the positives and what you can apply to your own life.
I think social media has a lot to answer for when it comes to people's poor mental health. There's cyberbullying. There's all sorts of, as we were talking about, comparing yourself to others. You see someone's life on social media and it looks glamorous. Most of those people that are the most glamorous are the most unhappiest. And this is what
100%.
people fail to see. And they end up ending their lives because they feel that they're not cutting it like everyone else. And it's so sad to see. These kids have got the world at their feet. They just don't realise, because they think their life is not as good as that person they're seeing on social media that they've never met, and probably doesn't give a shit about them.
I suppose that's where the mindset of, energy attracts energy. That's where you have to, where we, it's our role to and our responsibility to, let people know that there is a side to that life, that is actually what the reality of life is with social media and with all that kind of stuff. I think if people have that outlook, and if they look at something and they have that negative kind of outlook on that, that's something that they can change. They can change their perception. And I think that's an important role that we have moving forward, showing people the lighter side, showing people the positives, and trying to keep it around this, I suppose, the stigma of the positivity side of it. But
no matter what you do, though, people are going to get jealous. No matter how good or bad you've got it, you're always going to have someone that thinks, that you're horrible because of whatever. I mean, I've had it before. I throw a lot of stuff out on social media, especially around the gym. When we get to go to another gym, man, I throw that all over social media because I'm trying to inspire the rest of this island to get involved with this. Because, hey, man, you can get off that island and come and join us and be a part of this, or you can sit on that island and do nothing, So I throw it out there, and I get people go, oh, Sandy, you're showing off at all these fancy gyms you're going to and eating all these nice feeds and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I'm just showing a reality. Like, hey, this could be you. You could be joining us doing this. Or you can sit on your ass and do nothing and cry about it. Like, I put it out there not to show off. It's to show you that there is a better life than sitting there drinking alcohol and being a victim.
You can't dim your shine so somebody else doesn't get it in their eyes. You know what I mean? You got to keep doing you. You're not going to live your life worrying about the opinions of others. And I get that. I get it from that other aspect too. Don't worry. I'm on the other side of the pendulum with boxing. The amount of drama and bullshit, even from my last fight from that Australian title, the amount of slandering that I got on was absolutely insane. But at the same time, for me, the way I see that, you go through the comments and it's just like, money lost, money this, corrupt judges, bullshit, rah, rah, rah. And I'm just sitting on the other side of the computer screen with my belt laughing because I really don't care. It doesn't affect me. I'm doing my thing. They don't know anything that I've been through. They haven't stepped 1 mile in my shoes. And that's their opinions. Like I said on an interview, I went on a live stream the other day and had a bit of a chat with a few boys that I had fought. And I just said, opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one, but they don't really matter. So it is what it is. And then, there's so much controversy about looking at the positives and then not caring about the negatives. There's a fine line between it. But yeah,
but coming out of that, all the publicity goes to you, Benny. Like look at me and George. People had different opinions on how that went. But then you look at the Facebook video, we got over 12,000 views on our fight. So no matter what negative comes from it, if people like your last fight, Ben, people think you won, people think you lost. Either way, you're getting publicity out of it.
100%.
People don't realize, but if they're putting hate out there, they're actually being a fan because they're spreading your name more. So there's always a positive in it. Always positives in it.
100%, man. And we're the ones putting our asses on the line. They can sit on the other side of their computer screen eating Cheetos and just hating on people, blasting us, but we're the ones in there putting our bodies on the line. And we do it for the people that are grateful. We do it to help and inspire. We do it for the fans and the people that are positive and supporting us. The ones that are going to sit on the other side and be negative, they're going to pay for our pay-per-views and pay us anyway. At the same time that they're spraying us. So yeah, like you said, mate, it's a win-win, and it's not really our concern too much.
Let me swing that into a question for you, Benny, just a quick one that I'm interested to ask, because of course you made the switch, and we will have to have you on for an episode on your own to kind of tell your full story, because it's a cool one. But you obviously made the switch. You were top-end Aussie Thai boxer. You started jumping into a few boxing fights and then thought you'd keep the shoes on and go that way, and now really have pushed up to be one of the top-ranked Aussie boxers. But I guess with that change, boxing has a lot more of kind of, I guess, a fanfare within Australia than Muay Thai does. Like with Muay Thai, the people who are talking about it and engaging with it are the Muay Thai community, where in boxing you get that more conventional sports environment where random, punters want to give their opinion. What's that been like, that kind of change as your name starts to come up in the boxing world? Have you kind of noticed that difference in the way that people, could kind of get involved on social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, look, it's bittersweet in some aspects, but I'm not, and it's not bagging Muay Thai. It's not saying anything against it. That my 40 Thai fights, molded who I am as an athlete, as a person, and I'd never take a second back. But for coming over to the boxing side, I suppose with so much more corporate involved, whether it's sponsors or money or all that drama, all that whole network. There's so much more involved. And, you know, when you look over in the States, it's one of the biggest sports in the world, especially over there. So, of course, that's going to surround sound throughout the world. There's a lot more drama, a lot more politics. It's a lot harder to get to those. I suppose with Muay Thai, when you're fighting Aussie Muay Thai, you know, unless you get to that, like people like Charlie and myself, where, you know, you can get international opponents, but it's hard, man. It's hard to get international opponents, and then for promoters to justify getting, you know, international opponents over, they're going to have to pay them to come over, and then we don't get paid much. It's a really hard kind of thing. I suppose with boxing too, it's the same thing on the local circuit. It's hard to get international opponents, and guys in Australia don't want to fight you. If they're below you, they don't want to lose because it's going to ruin their record. If they're above you, they don't want to fight you because you have nothing to offer and you're a risky fight. The guys that are on par with you want a bloody arm and a leg to fight you. They're asking for $25,000, and you're just going, how can you justify that? You know, but and then for me, like, I'm taking the realism of it, and I'm happy to take those cuts to get the big fights, to get my name out there. But when you get to that American level, there's, you know, bigger and better things. There's a lot of guys over there that, you know, your minimum purse would be 20-25 kind of thing. But it's a hard struggle, you know. And I thought, you know, winning the Australian title, I thought, I stepped up and fought. You know, Chris George, my opponent, absolute legend, really, really nice bloke, really good fighter, really classy. But, you know, when I thought I'd beat him for the Aussie title, win, lose, draw, whatever, I'm like, I'm going to go in and give it my best. I got it on a close decision. And then since the fight, I've had nothing but just hate and spray. And, oh, you lost that fight, it was on your show, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. For me, doing the crossover, I'm kind of glad I had that, not Muay Thai mentality, but Muay Thai mentality, where I came over and I had that, I'll fight kind of anyone anytime kind of thing. And I don't know how many guys can do it properly to a high level, but I've had the first few fights were just like money grabs. It was between Thai boxing. All right, I'll fight this guy. He's had to pull out, doing a fight him in 2 days. And I'm like, yep, sweet. I'd go in and knock him out.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then after about 4 or 5, they were like, all right, well, I stopped getting the calls for gimmies, and I started getting offered like guys that had decent records. And I was like, maybe we should take this more seriously if we want to have a good run at it. And at the time, I was actually trying to get on. I'll put that on silent. At the time, I was actually trying to get on Bellator, and I was trying to Go Glory. I was trying to get on something and a kickboxing side that could go international. Because Australia at the time, look, I just won that 8-man, and I was kind of running out of people to fight. I didn't want to start rematching the same kind of guys. And you guys see that in Australian Muay Thai, when, you know, even like Charlie, George, Toby, they're running out of guys to fight. So, you know, I was like, God, I need to look elsewhere. And then boxing it got to a point where I'm like, I can't keep fighting these guys that are getting better half-assed. I need to put all my eggs in that one basket. And that's kind of how I originally started. And me and Joshy was like, yep, let's properly send it and just cross over. And I decided to make that commitment. And so far, so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, so good.
I'm trying. A lot of headaches.
I like I said, anytime we get sort of good guests on, I always say the same thing. If you just left me to my own device, I'd probably go for about 4 hours. So start to kind of, what I would like to do, go around the table. Look, I'm glad we did this, guys. I think this one's been a little bit different subject matter wise. Sandy, thank you for setting this up. I think it's cool to get a bunch of people together and have that the kind of things that we're talking about, you know, around, especially when we start to talk about the social media. Charlie, your point on timelines, I think, is an incredible thing for people everywhere to just consider. I think these are conversations that are great to have. It's one of the reasons I'm happy to produce a podcast so this can get out on YouTube and Spotify, and people can listen. I think it's something a lot of people will resonate. Let's just get around, just before we kind of sign off here. Charlie, let's just, how's been kind of, you know, the come down from your world title fight over in Perth, how things doing in Orange, and I guess sort of what's next for you? Just give us kind of the Charlie Bubb update.
Well, at the moment, I'm getting a little bit chubby. I had two hard training camps going into the start of the year, so it's taking a bit of time to recess and restructure. So, going forward towards the end of the year, obviously Quandamooka, hopefully get back on Eruption. Haven't been on Eruption in 2 years, so hopefully get back on there. Yeah, since I fought Jaden on Eruption. It's been
time flies. Yeah, I was on that show, but it doesn't feel like 2 years ago. Eh?
So yeah, that's been 2 years. So hopefully get back up to Queensland. I love fighting in Queensland. But yeah, everything around Orange, I think everything around Australia in the moment's a bit gloomy. Everyone doesn't know what's really happening. So I put a message out on social media earlier in the week, reshared that video that myself and Denny made. Just where everyone's locked up and cramped up. We're supposed to be social distancing and all that bullshit. We just need to help each other. Need to be there for each other. If you're locked up in your apartment and you're feeling a bit sad, I don't know what the right words are because we haven't really been in lockdown, so I can't really say the full extent of it. But yeah, if anyone around Australia is feeling that depression is obviously the right word for it. If anyone's feeling that, Australia as a whole need to come together because if we start to lose battles like that, there's no point of even trying to stop the virus when there's another virus going on around that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
You're right, mate. And you do a great thing spreading that message. It's a beautiful video. We'll share it on the podcast socials as well. Of course, we'll leave your info in the, was it Charlie_Bubb97 on Instagram? That's you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, we'll leave the links. We'll leave the correct links in the show notes. So if you don't already follow Charlie, he's obviously top end Aussie fighter and spreads a great message. So get on and follow him. Mr. Mahoney, what's kind of next for you? What's happening in your world and where can people follow you?
Just through Instagram, mate. I'll send you the link after, but that's where to follow. That's pretty much where I post all my stuff. I got a little bit on Facebook, but it's not as active as I'd like it to be. But look, next steps we're looking to fight probably mid-September if we can. We're just trying to skill up and level up at the moment. Like I was saying before, we all when you get into a camp, you're game planning, you're trying to bust your lungs and get really fit, and you don't really have time to level up and skill up. So, and then that's Thai boxing. Charlie would know when you jump from fight to fight to fight, you buddy have 3 fights in 4 weeks, so you don't really have time to kind of skill up a little bit. So I'm just trying to take my time over the next 3 or 4 weeks and learn some new skills, and then we'll lock in a fight, lock in a camp, and whoever we can get. Like I said before, it's a bit slim picking, so that's kind of our next step, mate. Just get better, keep progressing, keep getting the fights that we need to get to win that world title, hopefully not too far into the future. I think Charlie said a great thing before too on that closing note about how everyone's in lockdown and we all need to string together. And I know I can speak for all of us when I say that if anybody's watching this that needs a chat, that needs to even send a message from no judgment from someone they don't even know, if they were to reach out to any of the 4 of us, we would respond back. We have helplines. We would talk to you. Me personally, I get a lot of requests on the daily kind of thing. I go through all of them, but it takes me a little while to get through them, but I'll go through all my requests. So if anybody ever needs to chat about anything, needs some advice, just needs a non-judgmental head, please reach out. We are here to help you, and people do want to listen and people do want to help.
100%. Amazing point. And like you said, anyone on this call, I'm sure would agree. It's like I think we're all in similar, myself on a small scale to you guys, but all of us in a great position where people across the sport send us messages and stuff like that. Like since I started doing this and started sharing these out, a lot of people I only know through that, they send me messages. And I think it's important to let people know. I hope people would think that, you don't have to message me about something about the podcast or about the sport or about anything like that. This, if you're having a bad day or whatever, I think it's important for people to understand it. And it's a helpful thing to be able to just send someone a message and then just have a yarn, right?
100%. And we're all here to help. We're all here to talk. A lot of us have been through our own trials and tribulations, our own depressions, our own battles. So not to relate to everyone's individual situations, but there is a sense of relation that we can help.
100%. And Sandy, where can people kind of follow? I mean, I think you have about 4 Instagrams, so where's the best place for people to follow you, to follow the gym, the cup? And also, you mentioned kind of needing support, doing runs of hoodies, stuff like that. What's the best way, if people are hearing this and they like what you do, what's the best way to support Quandamooka Cup?
Well, we've got you can message us on our Facebook page, Quandamooka Cup. Suicide Prevention Indigenous Corporation. You can follow us on both of our socials, Quandamooka Cup or Supajai Gym. You can follow us there and get in touch with us, and we can give you the details if you want to make a donation. We actually are set up Quandamooka Cup as a not-for-profit organisation, so we do have a bank account for people that can, if they want to donate. I struggle asking people, so I never push the donate because I really struggle to ask. Here's me telling the world to ask for help and I don't do it myself. I'm shocking, but yeah, you can contact us via our socials, and yeah, we can tell you how to make a donation. It is greatly needed and greatly appreciated. I also I want to say a massive thank you to yourself, Hugh, for having us on. As I said, and thank you to my brothers, Charlie and Ben, for coming on. As I said, I didn't think I was interesting enough to keep you going for an hour, hence why I brought the boys in, because they're far more interesting to talk to as far as fight sports go. But I wanted to thank everyone that supported us. So I want to give a shout out to my bro, Pinky. Pinky, I
he
forgot
was a
to
recent
mention.
guest too.
Yes, he's hilarious. I forgot to mention him earlier as one of my my go-to people. I usually will go to Nugget, Mr. Demicoli, Pinky, or Mark Pease when I'm looking for advice. Pinky's always there to crack me up, or if I'm feeling unsure about something, he's always there to pull me up and go, nah, don't worry about it, and throws something funny at me to get my mind off it. So I love him. Absolutely. And he supports us in such a great way. He really is. I'm just grateful for my team. I really am. Like I said in the beginning of this, I couldn't have got this to where it is now without guys like Charlie and Benny or my whole team. It's certainly a team effort, and you know, I can't take all the credit for what's been done and how this has gone, because you know, there's no I in team, and I'm just really grateful for people like yourself, Hugh, to chuck us on platforms like this to get our message out further. We're in the process of, we've just brought on Rocky Ogden as our newest ambassador, so hopefully Rocky can share. He went through a recent tragedy when we lost the deadly kisser. Yeah, that was Rocky's trainer. Yeah. So I think he was feeling it and that touched at him. So, you know, with his people and his reach, hopefully we can inspire more people to open up and chat. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, I did watch Charlie's video a number of times. There's a part in it where you said, Charlie, I'd much rather hear about your problems than stand up and talk at your funeral, you know. And I have stood up and spoken, you know, at a funeral for my nephew, and it's the worst thing to do in the world. I've carried a coffin, you know. It's the most awful feeling in the world, and it's what's driven me to do all of this, to never have to do that again, or for any other family in the fight community to ever have to do that again, or, you know, ever have to experience that, because you never get over it. You never ever do. But I'm glad that we've got the Quandamooka Cup, because you got two choices. You can lay there and weep and scream it's not fair and become a victim yourself, or you can get off your ass and kick the black dog in the guts, which is what we're all trying to do, and inspire people to do the same. So I like the fighter's way. Get up and punch the bastard in the mouth. So I hope we win. And like I said, we got Quandamooka Cup coming up on November 13th. Myself and Paul Demicoli are working together on the show with the help of Nick Atkins. Nick's helping us as well in areas he's just so blessed. So if you're in Brisbane, if the world's open, please come up to the show. Give it some support, man. We want to make it a cracker. Hopefully Charlie will be the main event, even though it's a birthday boy. I'll have to give him a really big purse. But we appreciate all the support and love from all around the world, man. Love it. Thank you, everyone that supports us.
And you do a great thing. You also got a massive heart. I'll put all the details for all of the socials and stuff like that. I hope some people who hear this kind of episode, it resonates with them. Choose to get on and help, because like I said, don't kind of want to ask for the help, but I hope this has kind of told that story a little bit better to people who are unaware, and they can hear how much good you're doing, because I know a lot of people across the community would like to do their bit to help a little bit. So Charlie, Benny, Sandy, you're all absolute legends. I'm super, super grateful for your time, for coming on and chatting to me. Really excited to get this one out because, I think it's an important message, and it's a little bit of a different kind of tone to an episode that we usually do, the typical just kind of talk about fights and fighting and stuff like that. So glad to get that out there and to kind of show this different side. I am going to hit the outro now. So if you guys just want to stay on for a second and just, I'll thank you for being on. But again, thanks very much. Thank you everyone for listening. If you are listening on iTunes or Spotify, if you wouldn't mind giving us a rate, subscribe on YouTube, give us the thumbs up, help us spread messages like this one, because it's the only way these things travel. If you like what we do, tell your friends, basically. But everyone stay safe. I hope lockdown is treating you okay, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, bro. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Mwah.